All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and dive in today. I know we had an hour slated for our conversation today. I don't know that we're going to go that long. I don't know if you want to get that deep into SEO and AI search and how it impacts how people are finding new businesses. If we have those kinds of questions, happy to dive in and dive a little bit deeper too. But my goal really in today's training is to help you as service providers be able to understand like what's changing and shifting inside search um, that is being impacted by AI. And you've probably noticed yourself a huge shift in how you yourself are interacting with Google. And shifting a little bit how you're finding information. And if you haven't yet, like really started diving into some of the AI searches, just know that there is a big shift that is happening. People are starting to move off of a traditional Google search and into using what we call LLMs, large language models, or generative engines. You probably know them more by their like brand names, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Gemini. All of those platforms are the LLMs and the generative engines, and they're shaping the way people are interacting online and changing it really dramatically. And so, to the purpose of today is to talk about how you can help get your business found inside these new ways that search is changing. We're going to go over specifically, how AI search actually works, why traditional optimization, the search engine optimization, SEO, is not actually dead. It's just its need is shifting a little bit. And then I'm going to share some practical tips on how to make sure that the content you put up on your website can get read by AI. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how you can use that to position yourself above your competitors. There's a very cool opportunity happening right now, similar to people who first launched their businesses and their websites in 2003, 2005. It was super easy to get ranked. And then it's become more and more difficult over time. We're at kind of a cusp right now. If you're thinking about AI search, you will have a lot easier time getting ranked in the next year than you will in the next 2 to 5 years. So it's a really cool opportunity, even for business owners, small business owners that don't have a huge marketing arm behind you. And that's really my goal is to help you have enough information to know what's happening and what's changing and be able to start taking advantage of it. Whether you have a whole marketing team behind you or you're doing it in-house, you will walk away with great value from our conversation today. So, I mean, high level, what is AI search? The AI search is all of the things that we were talking about earlier, like the Chat GPTs and the Geminis and Perplexities and Copilots. Grok is another one. There will probably be a bunch coming out over time before it really settles into like who are the power players. But another use or another thing that falls into the category of AI search is the Google AI overviews. And if you haven't dived in yet to chatting with Gemini or ChatGPT, you probably have seen these Google AI overviews coming up above the local search results and the organic search results when you just go do a regular Google search. It's summarizing all of the information and it's pushing like those page one or those ranked 1, 2, and 3 organic results down the page a lot further than they used to be. And then another thing that's happening is voice assistants are using AI search. So this doesn't usually come into play too much for professional services, but it comes into play if you're driving down the street and you're like, hey Siri, where's the nearest taco shop? Like those kinds of voice assistants, those are good search options or ways that that's being used. We're going to really focus on the generative engines, the AI overviews, but just know that voice assistants are part of it as well. And optimizing for one optimizes for all three. So some of the shocking things that are coming out as we're getting used to the way search is changing is that 58% of consumers are now using those generative searches instead of going to Google and typing it into the search bar. And that's a huge change to have happened as quickly as it has. But the other thing that's happening is that people who are chatting with these generative engines are really intent consumers. They have purpose to their inquiries. And so when they do leave those conversations with the generative engines, they are much more likely to become um, new patients, new clients, what have you, because their intent is so high. And that's really because the conversation that happens inside the chat is something that puts trust into our hearts, into our minds. Whether or not we should trust what the robots are telling us is an ethical concern that we can debate later. What we do know is that it's happening because just, for like a high level, simple example, if I need to go buy a new pair of running shoes, but I want to search out something different than I've been using, I could go to ChatGPT and I could just start typing in like, this is the type of runner I am. This is how many miles I do every week, whether I like trail or I like road. I'm putting in into the chat all of these questions about what should I get, and it's going to start spitting out recommendations. And I might say, yeah, but I want something with better arch support. And so it will go back and forth and it'll come back with maybe two or three shoes that I should maybe try out. And then if I want to try on these shoes before I buy them, I'm going to put into this conversation I'm having with ChatGPT, well, who stocks these locally? And the shoe stores that have optimized for AI are going to come up in that search. And then now that I've talked back and forth 10, 15 minutes with ChatGPT, I am now looking at these three options of places I could go buy my shoe with a lot of trust. And I'm feeling like, oh, I'm a really knowledgeable consumer. And now I'm going to walk into that shop and I'm going to say, I want exactly this shoe and I'm going to buy. And that will have been a fairly easy transaction for them. When we think about that from the perspective of a service provider, it's the same thing. People are asking their legal questions, their medical questions, their accounting questions to ChatGPT and getting some answers. And then as they start to make that transition into who should they seek for actual professional help, then if your site is optimized for ChatGPT and for these AI searches, your business is going to be the one that gets the mention and that very high intent consumer coming your way. So I just share that with you so you can start thinking through things because in a minute we're going to talk about, the types of questions and things that AI really relies on to be able to not only get those answers when people are having those chats with it, but then how does it know which businesses to pull? And that's what we're going to go into next is how to make sure you can be that business that comes up at the end of that chat. The first thing is regular search engine optimization. If you have ever had any optimization done to your site, whether it's locally, whether it's for specific services, problems you solve, and it's all been done for traditional search, coming up and trying to get onto the Google Maps or trying to get into the first three results organically, that work is not dead. It's not wasted. It's super important to have good SEO on your website. And that's because the new AI tools are pulling from that data to say, oh, well, this site was already ranked on this specific topic. oh, this is an authority score, so we know that this will be good information. And normally what's happened if you've had any SEO work done on your site, or it was done when it was first built, it will be done in a way that is structured so the robots can read it. And we'll get into a little bit more what the robots need in order to read a site versus what the people need. But that's why good SEO still matters, is because AI is looking at those signals and those rankings from regular, what we call traditional SEO, um, to help start knowing which sites it should pull on and which businesses it should recommend for the services people are searching out. But in addition to good SEO, the next thing that AI needs is for these four things, and we look at them as like the layers of getting you more visible in AI. The first really is just writing the type of content that AI likes. That's what it's all about. It's about having content on your site that is in a question and answer format that AI can quickly pull, because that's what's happening inside those chats, is that people are asking it questions and it needs to give the answers. And that's probably the biggest area. If you are the subject matter expert, I'll give you a few hints or tips in a minute about how to write that kind of content in a way that's doable and doesn't require any technical expertise. But there are other technical layers, making sure the site is technically accessible and that the data is structured properly. This goes a little bit deeper into knowing a little bit about how websites are set up and coded. And on this portion of it, I'll give you enough information that if you wanted to go deeper, you could talk to a web person about and at least understand, like, the back and forth as to why it's important. And then lastly, just having comprehensive information on your site helps build that trust and authority. And we're going to go into each one of these layers right now. If you have any questions as we start diving into this portion, feel free to drop that into the chat, and we'll try and get that answered. But let's take a look at what type of content AI loves. I kind of already hinted at it, but because of the question and answer format that AI is involved in doing its job, it's looking to pull content from websites that have structured the information there in a very natural way that is very question and answer focused and gives really clear explanations, doesn't get too technical or too in the weeds, but then also, offers a broad range of information on that one topic. So, what that would look like, say you're a hormone clinic and you want to make sure you get ranked locally for that, instead of just having like a really vague page about, hormone therapy services, you would want that page to actually have a heading that says, what is hormone replacement therapy? And then you'd have that answer. And then the next heading, who is uh, hormone therapy for, and how long does it take to get results, and what are the risks? Like, AI is really looking for that clarity and those clear explanations. And so, the same goes for no matter what field you're in as a service provider, you're the subject matter expert. Think about what your patients and your clients are asking you day in, day out. What are their top of mind questions? Because that alone is the biggest signal of what people are searching, are using AI chats for, is to get the answers to those questions before they've even reached out to a service provider. And so just this is probably the biggest tip and takeaway for today. If you want to start ranking inside or showing up inside AI search answers, would be to sit down and think through what are the top 10 questions I get every day or every week. and then write out some answers and get that onto your website. It doesn't have to be done in a fancy way. It can be literally done just as I described, a heading and then the answer, and another heading with the question and then the answer. That really, really helps the AI be able to parse out what it is you're saying because the robots don't actually read the stuff. They are just looking for the signals to tell them what's on the site. They love these clear hierarchies. They love bullet points. That's a signal to them of like, oh, what follows next is a list. It could be a list of instructions. It could be, this is going to be really important. Um, the numbered lists, the FAQs, and any tables. Like AI loves that. And then the nice thing too is people love it too. Because I don't know if you remember, back in the day when we built websites, there wasn't a whole lot of styling. It was just like long paragraphs. And then with time, our attention spans have gotten shorter and we're not reading books as much as we used to. And we've all been trained to scan websites rather than read them. And so people also love it when the information they're seeing on a website is not in long paragraphs, but it's something that they can skim because they're going to be on your site for like a minute and a half if we're lucky. So getting big questions into headings helps them know, oh, I do want to read more because I want the answer to that question. So the nice thing is if you're thinking about doing this, every week, putting up a new blog post on a topic that answers specific questions that you get day in, day out. It makes it really easy to write too, because you don't have to write like a whole paper. We don't have to do 5 paragraph essays anymore or longer papers. We can chunk it out and make it very clear and concise. And that both helps AI and that also helps the people who are reading the site. So if you have one takeaway from today, I hope it's this, that just starting to add new blog posts to your website is a really easy way to feed the AI content machine and help your site start to come up in those search results when people are looking for the service that you provide. The next two sections we're going to cover together, making sure the site is technically accessible and how to, and then structuring the data properly. This does get into a little bit of more technical information, and don't feel like you need to walk away from this becoming a coder or anything like that. But if you want to run a technical scan of your website and you find that it does have a lot of technical issues, that would be a time to reach out to a developer to get those fixed because both traditional SEO and AI search results rankings require the bots to be able to crawl the site, access the text, read the code, and then start indexing the information so it knows when to pull it up. The other place that looks for content is in what we call the schema. The schema is buried a little bit deeper into the code, and it tells both traditional SEO and AI who you are, what you do, where you're located, and what services you offer. And it parses it out in a way that when your site is crawled, um, the the search engines and the generative engines pick that up, index it, and then they know to go and grab info from you and send people who are looking for you to solve their problems to your website. And so there are some tools that you can use to do technical scans of your site. If you want our team to do that, we can do that for free. You can just drop that in the chat if you want us to look to see if there's any technical things that would be blocking AI from being able to scan, crawl, and index your site properly. And then the last thing is that the four layers of making your site visible to AI is, are you building trust and authority? And that's really about what's happening outside your website. This is why, as a service provider, it's so important to ask for those Google reviews because both Google and the AI engines are looking at what people are saying about your business. If you're listed in service directories for your specialty, those are creating backlinks to your site. It means your site is linked somewhere else on the web and pointing back to your site. That's another signal that builds up that authority. And it's just looking to see, is this fly by night? Or is this an established business that we can send people to get their problems solved? And so that reputation really, really matters. And building that out with a couple of, making sure you're asking for reviews and then getting yourself listed in directories, like be part of the chamber, be part of your professional organizations, and get links back to your site. That goes a very long way. So that really covers the bulk of what needs to be done on the website in order to help AI start putting you into the answers of, well, where can I get the help I need? And the last thing I want to touch on is understanding, like, is this effort working? And again, there are really great tools. You can go to a site called SEMrush, SEMrush, and there's another one called Ahrefs, Ahref, and do a scan of your own site, and it will tell you if you are coming up in AI searches. It will tell you if you're ranking for keywords. If you have a web developer, they should, or a website hosting company, they should be providing that for you as well. Um, and the way we've always in the past known whether or not any of this search engine optimization was working was to look to see, like, well, where are you ranking in your community for your location, or the problems you solve, the key services you offer. Are you on the first page, or are you on the 10th page of Google? We also would look at how much traffic is coming into the site, and then how many of those web visitors were turning into new business for you. And those metrics are still really important, but there's a few other terms if you were looking into more AI search results to know and be aware of that the way we measure results now with AI metrics is a little bit different. One of the things, and I could be on a soapbox about this all day long, is that Google has broken the social contract of, if you provide us content, we will send you traffic. And now what's happening is that Google and the generative searches are saying, thank you very much for all of your information. We are going to send you a lot fewer visitors to your website. Um, Not the best, but the flip side of that is when you do get mentioned by AI, as I mentioned at the top of our conversation today, the traffic that does come, the potential patients or clients that do come, they are 100% more intent on actually doing business with you, becoming a patient, becoming a client than they are from just a traditional Google search. So it's everything's still so new. And that's why I really applaud you guys for being here, is because this is really new and it is really shaping it. There's some gray area for us as marketers to know, like, will that shake out and actually still drive new business? We think what we're seeing so far is that it is, but there are key differences on how we measure the success of being ranked or coming up in AI searches. The first is, like, how often are you being cited? It's actually this one, like, how often is AI um, cert, pulling from your site to give people answers? And then the next one is, how often are you getting the actual business name mentioned? And then how often are you actually, these authority signals pulling in to um, drive that traffic? So I like to focus on these two because I think they're the easiest to see. How often are you getting cited and how often is your company name actually being mentioned? So that's just out there for information on how to get to start tracking and measuring and thinking about this. If you're working with a company to help you with that, they're going to start sharing those kinds of results with you and then want to track how does that actually turn into new business. So, as we're starting to wrap up, I'll just share a couple of things. Sometimes the world of making sure your company shows up inside web searches can feel overwhelming because you can get involved, you can hear all of these tips and tricks and one clear paths. You'll see that on Instagram all the time. Just do this one thing and then you'll get found. And that's not been our experience. There's no one single trick to making sure you come up um, locally or for the services you offer. But what does make an impact is if you have clear messaging on your website, if you have that strong traditional SEO, and if you're working on structuring content in a way with that question and answer format, you're going to start coming up in those AI search results. And those things all working together really do move the needle to establish yourself as the go-to provider for your services in your area. And I always laugh. I'm like, it's not the sexiest way to market. It's not super flash in the pan, but it is seriously the like tortoise portion of the tortoise and the hare. It does win the race. It gets you in there. It gets you qualified people finding your site, and it really helps, add to the volume of people who are learning about you. Probably, if I had to guess, a lot of, and this is the same for all of the service-based businesses we work with, is that word of mouth is a huge part of how they get business. And that's always going to be very important. Adding in effort on your website to answer questions and get ranked in the AI is going to help supplement that and can grow it and make it so that people finding out about your business and your services isn't so much just waiting for the rain to fall, but a consistent, steady source of people coming to your website and learning about you and reaching out for you to solve their problems and make their life better. So just a couple of things in follow up or in wrap up, I mean. What this means is that if you act now and start writing those kinds of blog posts once a week, once a month, it's like I said, it's a slow and steady race. It will help you get found in those searches. It can help you turn your website into that ongoing patient and client acquisition tool. And because most companies don't know about this right now, doing this now and getting ranked earlier rather than later really will help you get the jump on not just your local competition, other businesses if you're same size, but also it will help you start to rank and compete even with national brands or larger organizations. As we've been doing this for our clients, we've actually seen our ability to rank in AI match and exceed larger brands that have much more um, like much larger budgets and that we could never compete with if we were doing Google ads against, but we can show up in those AI searches and beat out even that national competition there too. So it's a hugely powerful tool to help you get ahead of the curve. And once you are able to really like plant your flag there on the AI, you will see it continue to grow over time and it will help you stay ahead of them even as other companies start to keep to catch up and realize like, oh, I also want to be found in AI searches. And so that is it. That is the whole fire hose. We can definitely, Cheryl and Alyssa, if you guys have questions, I want to take you off of mute, yourself off of mute. We can go through that and I can go back to anything. And then I'll just point out here at this link right here, we can do an, if you want to drop your info there, and you want us to do an AI overview of your site, we certainly can. But Cheryl, I saw you come off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question was just I would like love for y'all to do that with my site. So do I just email you about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're so small. We've got your email when you registered. Do you want us to take a
Okay.
look then and
Yeah.
do that report for you?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, happy to provide that information. And then you'll know when I come back and say, you had this many citations and this many brand mentions. You've already got the definition there of why that even matters.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you. It's
yeah,
helpful.
great. Absolutely. Any other questions that I can answer at this time?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, everybody here, you guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up and carving out some time today on a Friday afternoon. We'll send you this slide deck as well, so you've got it as a resource, and then we'll be in touch with some follow-up. So thank you so much for your attendance today.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks. Bye-bye.